Just been called out to this job. I fitted... Doors shutting, don't shut. Just been called out to this job. I fitted all this. They say the pressure's low. Nobody's been here, but they've asked me to come out and check it. I fitted this 6 months ago. It was existing radiators downstairs. Obviously, I renewed it all upstairs. But to me, that pressure's not low. I know it's dropped a little bit on it, but they've probably run out of oil, to be honest with you. I'll just top it up. It's not unusual for a big cistern to lose a bit, and I'm not overly worried. I did pressure test everything. It's probably just shifted a bit of air, obviously, but I had an unvented cylinder. I put a warm flow boiler in. Obviously all the temperature gauges and that down because nothing's been switched on. So we'll switch it back on. What have they done? They ain't even isolated it, they've just put it on. Just boost everything. Can't even remember how it works. Boost them both. Alright, it's not locked out though. That pressure's not low, is it? That was a waste of time, that job, wasn't it? I'll check all the radiators, I'll heat them all up. I did bring my thermal imaging camera because they said the pressure had dropped. But yeah, nobody's been here. Nobody's been living here, they ain't got it sorted yet. So yeah, I've just fired it back up. Apparently it was on the snag sheet, the pressure was low, so they switched it off. But it only dropped a little bit, so I'm not worried. As I said, when did I finish this? In April time, and obviously the building, they've left the heating on, but they came down a few weeks ago, saw the pressure was low and switched the boiler off, but it only dropped 0.2, 0.3 of a bar. I probably left it on 1.2, shifted a bit of air, it could have been anything. So yeah, we'll let it all heat back up, we'll check all the temperatures again, and we'll call that a job. And so the boiler's all fired back in. I half thought they ran out of oil, obviously, because if they've left the boiler ticking over, it probably ran out of oil, but it hasn't. So we'll just leave it. We'll leave it running. I don't know what that pump is doing, but I don't think it should be doing that. Probably that pump messing up, innit? That should be constant. I would have thought. Why is it doing that? Boiler's got hot and it stopped firing. I don't think that pump's working. Right, just put it on constant. See, look, you put it on constant and it just does that. What a crappy thing. I'll see if I've got a new one in the van. That pump ain't working. Knackered, innit, that? I'll just swap it. Brand new, that, I know. I'll get swapped out. I've only got a Grundfos on the van, right at the bottom of the box as well. I knew I'd got one, but it's ages since I fitted a pump actually. So yeah, that'll do it. I'll just stick that on. My crappy tester, but it just shows that it's dead and alive. Yeah, I know it's not the best thing in the world, but it's just got one of them like volt pens on. We isolate it there, and I just whip this out. Gate valve head fits pump valves, so you can just spin them. These are brand new anyway, so these will hold. And I normally use the rubber pump washers, so they'll come apart anyway. So there maybe is a way to reset these, but I just don't want another callback. So we'll just swap it out. Oh, that's obviously the reason why the heating wasn't working. I don't think it's anything to do with the pressure. Obviously the boiler ran for like 2 minutes while I was talking. Oh Christ, what have I done them up with? Hate callbacks. That's hot now, no. Well, nobody likes a callback, do they? But use 2 different pump washers. I obviously lost one. Pump going that way. Always try and make stuff easy to work on, because it might be you coming back and changing it. Yeah, well, hopefully flex will reach. Get the water back on. Fully on and then back half a turn. Nipex for the win. I'll just get this wire back in, obviously just straight in there, and we'll get it back on. Just before anybody says it, look, there's no crap or anything in that pump. The system's perfectly clean. All is fired back in now, so it's just a faulty pump. I had one the other week where we changed a 3-port, and it had it was a Honeywell one. It was about, well, I think it was exactly a year ago we went back to it. It was a buzzing head, so we took it back to the merchants. They sent it, well, I think they sent it off to a new one and said it's not covered because it was water quality. What's a buzzing head got to do with water quality? Honeywell had the issue with buzzing heads, didn't they, on the 3-ports and stuff. But yeah, it just annoys me when the manufacturers don't take responsibility for the products. Obviously, I've had to come out free of charge in my own time, change that. It's probably cost me 3 hours. It's cost me 100 quid, hasn't it? 100, well, a bit more than 100 quid. Obviously, plus the difference in cost of the pump. So yeah, we're always out of pocket, and yet manufacturers don't always give you the money back on the products either, so it's a bummer, isn't it? Heating is now all coming through nice and hot. Again, all these are existing rads. All we did was put TRVs on, obviously, even though they're all getting hot. Put that shower in, had to get that waste pipe across the floor, if you remember. That was a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, I don't think it was low pressure. Obviously, when it came in, the pressure was a little bit low. That's obviously what it was reported to me as. Obviously, we're not engineers. But they've left the heating on, I don't know, 10, 15 degrees for the last months while the building's been empty. They came around the other week and it wasn't working. So it had been the pump. So yeah, I don't know if you could reset that, but I can't. I personally don't have time if it's just going to go again next week. Even if you could reset it to keep coming backwards and forwards, you know what I mean? So I'll just change it out. And yeah, it's down to the manufacturer really, isn't it? So yeah, easy one sorted in the end. I'll just let everything heat up and we'll be on the way to the next. Bathrooms still look alright, don't they? I ended up, well, I altered them. Them panels had just used the clips, if you remember. A long while ago now I did this job. They still look good. Just checking the rest of the heat, and they're all getting nice and hot to the top. So yeah, looks alright, doesn't it? And then I put ages ago, but I had to put blenders under these. I say valves and then just blenders. Yeah, look alright. This room in here had 2 rads in because the wall got moved. If you remember, it was a right jig around in here. That wall got moved, so we ended up putting one in there, just behind this door. And then I can't remember how it was going to be, but there's a wall going across there. Looks like they are going to be moving in very soon because all the furniture's here now. But yeah, they're all getting hot. My second job of the day was just leaking flush pipe in a factory look after. I was actually really lucky on this building because the panels just lift straight up and it gives you full access to the system. Sometimes you can really struggle, obviously, if the back's the wall and they're all built in and boxed in. We've all been there, I think. But yeah, when I got it apart, the rubber flush pipe cone had just been folded over on itself a little bit, so it'd probably been leaking a while. All I did is replace it, tested it and make sure it was okay. One thing you do have to watch is to make sure your flush pipe is nicely fixed. Sometimes you can put a clip on them, but honestly didn't feel it needed it on this because it was nice and solid against the cistern and the toilet. And the other thing you got to watch is to make sure your pan's not loose, because obviously if that's moving forward, it's going to loosen your flush pipe off. One thing with being in an industrial building like this, they're constantly mopping the floors, and you do see it a lot where the steel screws are just rusted off and the pans become loose. So it is one thing you've got to watch. That's why I always prefer stainless screws, obviously, in the floor. But yeah, the plumbing was a bit shocking on this building, to be honest with you, in general. I was actually there to look at a water heater and they asked me to look at this, and it was all just all done in speed fit. But right, I've just got to make a slate up for this chimney. So obviously we've got a flue going up here, and we need to put a piece of lead across with a hole in the middle with a weld up to stop any water going down. I think it's a building reg. I do a few of these, but not many. I'm not much of a lead welder. I can do it, like. So just have a quick look what's going on. We'll just get this measured up for the size. So 770. Right. 680. And we need to get a hole in the middle, obviously, for the lead to go through. So the lead slate up vertical, and then a piece of lead, and they'll dress it down the sides. Got all that measured up. If I've got a piece of that, I can make it round, which we have. So I make my lead around a piece of that. Just weld it up. I'll have to weld it off a mat bottle because I haven't got oxyacetylene with me, and we'll get that sorted for him. I can't find my Stanley now. It's typical, innit? This is the lead they've got me. I don't think it's wide enough, but we're gonna have to do something with it. We always do. This is code 4. Come on. I don't want it too tight. I don't want it too loose. God knows where I've left my Stanley half. This will do it. Like I say, I don't want this too tight because sometimes I think these flue blocks can taper a little bit. Obviously, I don't want it loose. I don't want it tight. Get a bit of everything on this channel. I'm not bothered what I'm doing as long as I'm busy. What I need to do is get the edge of this lead cleaned up down where we're going to weld it, just using a scraper, and then we'll cut some strips of lead. We'll get that one welded in, and then we'll weld it onto the bottom piece. But I'll have to extend that. I don't know. I'll figure that bit in a minute. So I'm going to be welding off a matte bottle. Obviously it is better with oxyacetylene, but I'm only a plumber by trade. I just don't do enough of it just justify carrying it around. You can do it, obviously you can do it with this. It is more difficult to control your flame, and obviously when it's windy, when it's windy it can blow the flame. So what I'll do is I'll just get this tacked. Obviously I'm working in a well ventilated area, i.e. doors and windows are all open. Well, we're in a garage which is all open, so we'll just see if we can tack this. Just tack it and stop it moving. It's not the prettiest weld you'll ever see, but it'll be fine. Right, what we need to do now is we need to turn this flat so we can weld it onto here. So I'll just tap it round with a dresser. Obviously, we need to take it out of there. And we'll just tap that flat and go. I don't know, it's quite tall anyway, so even if we had 30mm, it'll be fine. We'll turn it down to that point. Something like that anyway. So obviously we can weld back on there. It's probably not perfect, but it'll do. You get the idea, so it'll look something like that. I'm going to end up having to weld some strips on this lead because it's obviously not wide enough, but that's what the builder's given me. So it needs to be 770 by 680. So if we plonk my lead in the middle, what I'll do I'll do is I'll weld this on here. Obviously the width will be okay, because we can go what we want. We can have it 770 that way. We can have what we like that way. But I need to go wider than 770 because obviously we've got an overhang. Obviously we'll dress it down, so we need to be, if we did a 50, it wouldn't matter if it was 870, we can cut it off as long as we've got enough lead. And then ideally I don't want to weld two bits on. I'll have a look, I'll have a measure. If we have 50mm overhang, that would be okay, I think. We can dress down. $870. $870. $350. Yeah. Yeah, that leaves 50 mil. That's what must be there. It's just the width. 680. So if we push it back, I don't know if I'll get it. I'm gonna end up having to weld a strip on a strip. That's what we'll have to do. I'll have to weld a strip on here and a strip on the back, and that's all I can do to make it wide enough. Yeah, we'll just have to weld it, it's not a problem. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm messing up. I've actually got to go in a minute, but it'll probably be dark when I finish this now, but we'll see. You get the idea anyway, don't you? You can see. I don't even know if you can see what I'm messing up. Right, got it all welded up. I just need to burn a hole in it now, obviously, to pass that thing through. Should be all right. As I say, I've done my best with it. Obviously, I'm not by any stretch of imagination the best with lead. It's just practice, but yeah, it'll do this one anyway. Right, that's that all sorted. I know my welds aren't the best. Some bits are okay, some bits are crap, but I think it'll be fine. So yeah, job done.